All right, folks, it's our final segment. Clint Kelly, my friend, with us this morning, malpractice attorney here in town, taking your phone calls. Stick around at the end of the show, too. If you don't get through or you want to contact him, we'll give you his information, his office over there in Hendersonville, and how you can put a call in there. But got the lines open if you want to jump in, and let's go next to Ethel. Ethel, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
I would like to ask this gentleman if this would be a form of medical malpractice. Okay, I have seasonal allergies and I also have vertigo. And it got so bad for about 3 months I couldn't smell or taste anything. And my doctor sent me to 4 different ear, throat, and nose specialists. Okay, this doctor, he left the state of Tennessee, and my insurance sent me to this other doctor. Now, this doctor, he had my medical records. And when time come for me to have my medication filled, he wouldn't do it. And I asked him why. And he told me, he said, I was too old. And I told him, I said, look, I said, you are not allowing me to live a normal, healthy life. And not only did he do that, I had to wait 3 days before he would even fill my blood pressure medication. So I called the insurance company that the other doctor left, it sent me to this doctor, and I filed a complaint. And so it was so long contacting me after I filed a complaint, so I just changed doctors.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah,
you just needed to find another doctor. Good for you, Ethel. Good for you. Now, whether or not, okay, the way she was treated to me is wrong. I mean, I don't know what the reasons were. The doctor would not give her the prescriptions. Maybe he felt at her age it could be dangerous, but what she did was really her only venue. That doesn't really meet the level of malpractice, does it?
It doesn't sound like there was a major injury involved there. Certainly was inconvenience, and sounds to me like just bad patient care, bad patient relationship. But what you just said is what I would advise her to do is get another doctor. There are plenty of doctors out there, and I can't think of a plan that does not have other doctors that you can go see. If there's something wrong with this doctor and her relationship with the doctor, and she did the right thing.
By the way, we talk medical doctors and the kind of cases. Have you ever taken a case against a psychiatrist?
I have.
Okay, I didn't know. Would that have been for conduct in the office,
no,
improper prescriptions being filled?
This was a young man who was taken to a local psychiatric hospital, a lot of us know of, because he was suicidal, and he was admitted inpatient, and he was discharged far too early. Okay. And about 2 or 3 days after he got out of there, he shot himself. And that was the claim, that the psychiatrist didn't properly treat him and discharged him far too early.
Could you bring a malpractice suit against a doctor's staff in a jail? Has that ever happened?
You can. I have not done it, but you certainly can, because they have a duty of care as well, the prisoners, to make sure that they get proper medical care.
I wonder if any of those have ever, I mean, who knows? We always hear from families of inmates saying, oh, he's not getting the proper treatment, or he's sick. You know, I'm sorry, you go to prison, it's not always the best deal, but they are supposed to be cared for. I wonder if sometime maybe they ignore something or they give the wrong treatment. And there have been inmates that have died behind bars from illnesses that weren't properly treated. I know that.
Yeah, I haven't had one of those cases.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Joe. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hey, Joe. It's Joe. I was wondering if Joe was going to call. Go ahead, buddy.
Just a couple of things. I want to thank Mr. Kelly for coming on and giving the audience the expertise he has in this kind of practice. But the 2 things that it really strikes me is I'm worried to death about is these chiropractors are doing all kinds of crazy treatments for different things, and that's just off the wall to me. But the second thing is, as he's already alluded to it, is our legislators, they're not going to do anything for the public, because Mr. Kelly knows as well as most other people that pays any attention to what's going on, that these legislators are in the pockets of these doctors and hospitals and drug companies. So, Tennessee is behind, like you said, a year. Statute of limitations is no good. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say about it. Thank you for coming on and giving us an update on things that we need to know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe.
one of the top lobbying groups in the legislature is the Tennessee Medical Association and the Tennessee Hospital Association, and they give more money than the lawyer organizations, and the patients have nothing to give. And you know, money speaks. You know, the legislature is going to go where its bread is buttered, and you know, we just can only hope that the system we have now doesn't get altered any more in favor of the healthcare providers, because the patients are really at a huge disadvantage in trying to get their day in court nowadays.
You know, he brought up chiropractors, and I'm wondering about, and I don't know, I guess, do they qualify as alternative medicine, or if not, what about chiropractors and malpractice? Does that come into play? And have you ever seen situations that you've dealt with where it's not really a medical doctor, but it's maybe some of that holistic healing bunch or things like that? Are you able to target them?
Yeah, I've never had a case against a chiropractor. I know of a case against a chiropractor years ago where a chiropractor paralyzed somebody with a procedure. But when you start talking about these alternative medicine treatments, and they're really not medicine, they're therapies, because chiropractors are not allowed to prescribe drugs.
That's right. Like acupuncture.
Well,
you're
you're seeing these weight loss commercials on TV. Some of these weight loss commercials are chiropractors who are getting into the weight loss business, and they have a so-called routine that patients are supposed to follow to be able to lose weight. I don't know if any of that is dangerous or not, but that's what many of them now are doing and what they'll do is they'll bring the patient in, and while they're selling the diet program, then they'll say, oh, by the way, we're going to also offer you services for chiropractic treatment on your back to make you feel better physically. So see, it's a way to get you into the in the chiropractor's chair to have two treatments at the same time.
Interesting. Listen, I know people that go to chiropractors that swear by them, and it seems to help them. It's not, you know, it's not for everyone. For some people, yeah, I think
what it is.
They do the. I was just curious. One of the I've said Nick and I, or Clint and I, have done stories in the past that have come through here, or that are very interesting.
Right.
The one that got the huge buzz, and they've all really been well received because I think they educate people, is that child who had the surgery in the hospital. I was just wondering, is there any update on that? If you would recap that, the wrong surgery, a newborn, and that went national after we broke the story here.
You know, Nick, she's been to see a mental health care provider, and I think this might even be tougher for mom to get over than for the child.
You're talking about the mom has gone because it was so, but it's not her fault in any way.
Well, I know, but it's a mother, and mothers feel like they have some residual guilt when something like this happens. I mean, you've got a newborn who you are responsible for. You're the #1 protector, and basically on your watch after the first day of the child's birth, the child is injured, is traumatized by someone. There's inevitably going to be some sense of guilt and some sense or feeling that could have been prevented, even though it couldn't have. And it's a traumatic event. It's something that's going to take mom a long time to get through, I believe, simply because she feels like she has some responsibility.
But yeah, you know how a newborn, and the mother especially, and the father it affects. But just so you know, that what happened was the child was taken and was given the surgery. Which it is a surgery. Some people say, oh, that's not a surgery. Yeah, it is. It's minor surgery, but they...
Anytime you cut on somebody, it's surgery.
Yeah, they're tongue-tied, and what is it called again? They went
frenulectomy. It's when you cut the tissue up under the tongue to free the tongue.
Because sometimes infants that need this, it's too tight, and they loosen it up. Well, this infant was normal. They mixed up the babies and cut that tissue under the tongue on the wrong child. Any update on that? It's still a very young child. The hope is that it will not affect this child's ability to talk or eat properly, and hopefully everything will be all right, but we don't know, right?
That's correct. We don't know
So how do you settle something like that? Because obviously, this is one of those cases you said, Nick, it's pretty straightforward. Even the hospital admits what happened here was wrong. How do you go about settling for that?
Well, the first question, like you said, is I've got to determine whether the child's going to have any type of permanent impairment as a result of this.
Who the heck knows that? You're not going to know that till he's older.
Pediatricians, you have some time. They can figure out developmentally whether the child's going to be able to have any disability in terms of eating or talking. The mother is what I'm as concerned about, if not more, simply because I think the emotional scar of this experience is going to be something that's going to linger for quite some time. And she has a claim. and she deserves to
Are
be
those
compensated.
separate claims, or is
They
it all
are.
bundled?
They're in one case, but they're separate claims. Mama has her claim. It's called negligent infliction of emotional distress. He's got a claim for battery.
Okay, I didn't know about the. That's something that's developed since we last talked with the mother. Even though I interviewed her, and of course, she was upset, and so was the father.
Right.
So is that still pending then?
It is.
Typically, how long, as we wrap things up here, does a case go? And I know that's kind of a crazy question because all your cases are different.
Usually 1.5 to 2 years.
1.5 to 2 years, and that would be if you reach a settlement, or is that including the possibility that you litigate if you can't reach a settlement?
That includes the possibility of litigation. Now, if there's an appeal, you're talking another year, maybe a year and a half. But if more often than not, you're going to get that case resolved. And I settle about 75% of my cases.
Okay. The key on that, though, and to me, I always, if I'm seeking an attorney, I'm not interested in an attorney who is just interested in settling. Okay.
Right.
Meaning that you're 25% of the cases, you're not afraid to litigate. And I've never seen you in court, but I bet you're darn good. And I want to know that there's always the threat that my attorney, who's very fine, if you don't agree to something that we think is fair, is going to take you to court, where if you lose, you may end up paying even more. And of course, you go into court, and there's a chance you're going to lose. But you know what I mean? I look for attorneys that are not afraid to litigate. And you know what? I know attorneys that are afraid to litigate.
Well, it's even more than that, Nick, because I know when I take a case, regardless of what I think about the facts, I may have to try that case. And so I'm only going to take a case that I'm comfortable that I can go to trial and feel like I can win.
That's a big deal.
And I work it up like I'm going to go to trial, because the worst thing you can do for your client and for yourself is to work a case assuming you're going to settle it, and then at the very end the doctor says, I'm not paying.
Right.
See you in court.
See you in court. The truth is, sometimes you don't want someone to be too quick to settle. You've had cases where you've disagreed with your client, where either they said, I want to go to trial, or I want to take the settlement, and you're saying, no, I think we go to trial, we can get more. But ultimately, it's the client that makes that call, right?
You'd like to have a settlement, but you always prepare for trial.
Give out your contact information one more time, and then I'll give it again at the end of the show.
Yeah, it's 615-824-3703. And when you call in, you can ask to speak to Pat, or you can ask to speak to me. But if you say it's a medical malpractice case or potential case, they're going to send you to Pat first, because she got the expertise. She knows better questions to ask than I do. And then, of course, I'll look over the intake information and make a determination whether or not I think it's a case that we need to go further and investigate.
Costs you nothing. And the thing about Clint is, he's not someone hurting necessarily for business, though I know you always like new cases. But, I mean, you're going to give it to him straight. If it's not a case that's actionable or whatever, you'll be honest with him. And it doesn't cost you anything. And if he does choose to take your case, again, you only get paid if you win. And that's called contingency. What percentage of a settlement do you get?
It's 1/3. That's the maximum amount allowed by law. And let me say this too, Nick, that one of the other reasons why I like people calling into the office, even if I don't take their case, and a lot of times I don't, is maybe it'll give some people some peace of mind to say, I thought there was a claim, but at least now I know, and I don't have it lingering in the back of my mind that maybe I have a case, because I think that's one of the services that I and my brethren provide, is giving some people peace of mind to at least know whether they have a case or not.
I think that's an excellent point. It goes both ways on that. I mean, and that's a service you provide free of charge, because you're going to tell them if they have a case. But that's a great point. Instead of going around the rest of your life wondering, gosh, I just think I got burned, call and he'll tell you one way or the other if you have the records that you can review and everything.
Knowledge is power.
It's great. Clint, as always.
Good to see you.
Pleasure, my friends. Good to see you. We'll see you again soon, and hopefully Charlotte and some of the others contact you, and I'd be curious to hear what you think of her case. She's one that called in. Folks, I'll be right back with a programming note about tomorrow, and I'll put up his contact information again right after this. Stay with us.